Hi, hello. Welcome to the episode of Isaiah's Newsstand. It's your host, Isaiah Edwards. The date is November the 18th, 2025. Hopefully this episode finds you well, in good spirits and high hopes. As for me, I'm doing pretty good. Happy Tuesday to ya. Hopefully it was a good day. For me, it was overall good. We'll take it, especially for peak Tuesday. It was one we made it through. So, I get up, I get to work. Overall, it's as expected. There's a lot of work on the floor. We're getting through it. I did have a nice moment where I had a bad orange last night. This is a bit random story here, but it has a cute ending. I had a bad orange last night. I've noticed like in this batch, every other orange is kind of bad. I'm like, that's annoying, whatever. And for some reason, I was just having like an extra craving for like more fruit. And one of my coworkers, they usually come through with some kind of little fruit or a snack, something to that effect. And I came up to them and I said, "Hey, is there any chance you have any like fruit?" And they immediately were like, "Oh, I do, but I don't have it on me." And I was like, "Oh, okay, that's fine. No worries. If you can get it, great." And they later came back and like they passed me and I was like, oh, maybe they just didn't have it or maybe they forgot. Maybe they're busy. It's okay. But then I saw them like, I want to say an hour before my shift ended. And they were like, hey, I got you. I found you. I forgot. I'm sorry, but I got all this. And they gave me a whole bag. And like, it wasn't like a full bag, but it had a banana, it had an orange, and it had Nutter Butters in it. Like the chocolate peanut butter wafers, and I was like, oh my gosh, thank you. You're going to make me fat. Oh, you're so sweet. Thank you. And that was really nice because the day was definitely dragging, at least to a certain extent, because we're kind of in this loop, right? And y'all remember last week, it was already stressful, and I'm about to get to the crescendo. There was almost a showdown that I dodged. So the crusher fills up, and I'm like, okay, it's about like 2:00. I got 2.5 hours to go. That's not great, but we're going to just keep blipping along. Cause like I said, I'm going to do what they asked. I'm going to run it, till it hits this quote unquote number, AKA till it breaks. And, so I'm all set to do that. But the person who's my secondary they come back down to me and they tell me, hey, they just told me that they want to fill the other crusher with cardboard. So let me break this down for any new listeners who haven't gotten the skinny. The main crusher that we use is for cardboard only. You're only supposed to fill that with cardboard. That's it. The other crusher is for everything else. So in other words, you're not supposed to put cardboard in it. Like that, if you did both, it would fill it up and it would make it unusable. And then we would have a bunch of trash bags filled with food, filled with whatever, just sitting and rotting. No one wants that. But upstairs, the topsiders, they learned this special little hack during peak that like if you fill up the crusher right before Wednesday, then they change it out. Who cares? It doesn't matter. It's all gone and everyone gets what they want. Now, in theory, I'm okay with this strategy. If everything goes to plan, it's all good. They get what they want. I get what I want in that situation too, because that means there's less cardboard on the floor. And, it's a full trash compactor. Everyone's happy and we all go on about my business. But we all know Rumpke is not perfect. Very far from. They might miss a pickup. They might come very late. You never know. And that's going to leave us literally holding the stinky, icky ass bag. So this is a thing that I think we first had this issue pop up last year because a lead got this idea. We shot it down. I shot it down. Maintenance shot it down. It was done. They went over our heads to the assistant manager, like of the whole warehouse. He said, yeah, that's fine. Go ahead, do it. And with that blessing, he just got to do it. And luckily, it only jammed us up bad one time. But it's just so risky. I don't even want it to have to happen once. But needless to say, once again, after the skirmish, the dust up from last week, I didn't want a sequel. So I tell him, hey man, I put my hands up and I'm like, I'm not touching this and I don't want to touch it. I understand that you have to. And he's like, dude, I don't want to do it either. And I felt so bad because I'm essentially just leaving him to do it, and I just walk away. I just disappear. And I'm hanging out in maintenance. And then I see the topsider, the head honcho who put me in my fucking situation from last week, come down to check on the situation and lay down some law, I guess. I don't know. Either way, I wasn't there for it. I was just, a man apart. I was sitting away. And I told myself, Isaiah, don't interfere. You're done. You have 10 more minutes left at this point. Just let that clock tick on down like you should have last week, and you walk on out of here. You clock your fucking fine ass out of this bitch. And that's what I fucking did. Okay? So that's how we dodged that bullet. Now, that being said, my stomach was feeling a little icky, and I was like, let me stop by at home. Let me reconnoiter. Let me do my thing. I take my little, evening constitutional that I don't like taking, but sometimes, nature calls, and I didn't want to do it at work. So I get home, then I go to the gym, and I'm running late. But I'm lucky because even though it's busy, I think maybe the amount of rain, that was another shitty part of the day, was that it was a cold rain all day, and in my compactor, it leaks a lot. So essentially, I'm just getting rained on all day. So even though it's 50 degrees and maybe the average bear is like, you don't need a heater in that situation, you're fine. Well, there's no heat in the warehouse, and I'm getting dripped on cold, wet rain. Yeah, I'm running the heat. So that was another grievance of the day, but whatever. I'm used to that. Back to the gym. Gym was busy, but not as much traffic, at least to the point where I was able to get on a Smith machine. I was able to get on free weights. Awesome. Love that. Then do some core work. Love that. I was then able to get in all of my filler work in terms of just equipment, for the weight training. I was like, awesome. So we're on a roll here. But I'm looking at the clock and I'm like, if I take the whole hour to do my cardio, I'm going to be so behind for the rest of the night, and I just don't want to be. I've gotten to this point where time means a little bit more to me this year. Don't get me wrong. I still want to get a pump. I still want to get my exercise in. I know cardio is important, but I'm going to give myself a little bit of grace for the sake of time. At least sometimes, you know what I mean? So I just did 15 minutes on the Stairmaster and I got my ass out of there. Kind of the best I could do with a bad situation. And also, I'm telling myself as well, and maybe this is a bit of a cope, but we got holidays coming up. We got, I literally have a, work catered dinner thingy tomorrow. We got Thanksgiving next week. Next month, we got Christmas. So, there's going to be a holiday dinner there, 2 of them things. I know that I'm going to be gaining some weight. So I'm trying to give myself a little bit of grace. I'm trying not to do the thing where I overcompensate and I got to go so hard. I got to do the most. No, it's okay. We're consistent. We're good. Let's just stay the course. Everything's going to work out A-okay. So I'm telling myself that, like I said, taking some time, doing the best I can. Overall, though, good workout. W workout. Not the best day, but we got through it, in terms of the work. So, I guess W work day, whatever. But yeah, that has been my day. A bit stressful, a bit hectic, but, we'll take it for a Tuesday. There you go. That's the synopsis there. Let's go ahead and do our startup and we'll get into some news. I do have to say this while I'm loading up. I had a fun interaction with my main supervisor today as well. So I'm kind of in and out of a mood still. You know what I mean? I still have sour grapes. I'm still not happy. But overall I'm good, right? I need to state this for the record. But I'm walking back to my station, my area, post my break, one of my breaks, and I guess my supervisor was working a line, working a conveyor line, and they shout over to me. They're like, hey, Isaiah, how you doing? And I quick flash look at him, and I go, I'm okay, and I keep walking. And we're close enough where that they reach out to get some dap, get a little fist bump. And at this point, in my calculations personally, I've walked just far enough that I don't want to. I don't need to. And so I just don't, and I don't look back, and I can hear him out, from behind me, because I do have a headphone in as I'm walking by, but I can hear him. He goes, "Oh, you're just gonna leave me hanging?" And I don't look back. I don't look back. Cause fuck that motherfucker, dude. Like, you fucking left me out to dry last week. Get fucked, dude. We are not friends. You are my supervisor. You are my boss. We are not in a fucking team huddle. This is not grab ass and fucking ooh 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 rah. We're not attaboying each other. Let me do my work. I don't want to fuck with you like that. No, we're done with that. So at least for the rest of this peak, man, that's the kind of shit I'm on right now. Okay. I thought that shit was very funny. It felt like when you're like, I know I equate things to just stupid video game moments, but you're just like literally in a cutscene queue and you're just supposed to press X for the simple action, and I just didn't. I said, nah, fuck you, man. I don't care if you remember. I remember too. Ooh la la. Okay, so we gotta talk more. Oof. We gotta talk more Epstein. Sadly, unfortunately. So they did have a vote on the House. It did pass overwhelmingly, by the way. But I wanted to take a quick stop at the start to talk about the one House representative who voted against releasing the Epstein files. Okay, from Louisiana Illuminator. Why U.S. Representative Clay Higgins of Louisiana voted against releasing the Epstein files. U.S. Representative Clay Higgins of Louisiana cast a lone vote Tuesday against a congressional measure to compel the release. I'm reading this wrong. Cast a lone vote Tuesday against a congressional measure to compel the release unclassified investigative files from the FBI's case against convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. But there is a possibility he could eventually support it, he said. This is just wild. He does give a whole ass fucking reason, but essentially, well, let's start with the preface here. There's 427 House colleagues who all voted to release the files. Granted, there were some people who were trying to drag their feet or whatever, but especially with Trump saying, "Okay, I've changed my mind, actually release them shits. I'm okay with it." Everyone's kind of gotten on board. But this guy is like, no. I'm still a no. We'll go ahead and read what he has to say here. What was wrong with the bill 3 months ago is still wrong today. It abandons 250 years of criminal justice procedure in America, Higgins said. As written, this bill reveals and injures thousands of innocent people, witnesses, people who provided alibis, family members, etc. If enacted in its current form, this type of broad reveal of criminal investigative files released to a rabid media will absolutely result in innocent people being hurt. Not by my vote. That's also not true. But yeah, let's see. The investigation that has already released well over 60,000 pages of documents from the Epstein case. It's been a huge tranche of information, a whole trove of shit. A lot of emails. I've talked about them a little bit. I've been listening to some podcast coverage specifically from TrueAnon. Just combing through it. And there's so many lines to it too, because Jeffrey Epstein was talking to so many people, and so many people were talking to him back, despite knowing that post 2008, this man was convicted of prostitution, and you could get into the details and go, oh, look at the ages and everything of these people. That's kind of wild. Some people were literally emailing and talking to Jeffrey up until the point where he was arrested again in 2019. So motherfuckers was knowing, and they just didn't care. Which we're going to get to in our next article here. Let's see here. But yeah, no, more or less, with this guy, it's just fucking boo this man, tomato this man. I wanted to mention this for the record that one person wanted to impress Trump so bad that they were like, "Yo, I'm gonna say no," because I know that's what he wants. I know that's what Daddy wants. So I'm gonna say no so that I can stay in this guy's good graces because I don't want to get Marjorie Taylor Greened. Okay, I'm not trying to get MTG'd. So yeah, I mean, I guess getting your bread buttered like that is worth that much to you. That you're willing to back these like rich pedophiles and some shit. But in terms of him saying that, oh, like, this is going to affect other people, like if witnesses or victims are going to be, hold on, let me see if I can just find it. Morgan Lamondre, I'm sure I'm getting the name wrong, is executive director for Sexual Trauma and Response, the state's largest organization serving survivors of sexual assault. Reached by email, she said Higgins' explanation for voting against the bill is not consistent with its actual text. The only people the bill does not protect are powerful adults connected to Epstein's criminal activities, Lamondre said. Higgins is treating the potential embarrassment of these individuals as if they are innocent people. It is also hard to believe that he has developed a sudden concern for due process, given his history in law enforcement, when he routinely assumed guilt in public videos long before suspects were ever arrested or stepped into a courtroom. Sorry, I was looking for that while I was talking, and I finally found it. So yeah, fuck this man, boo this man. But there's more people to boo. There's more tomatoes to fucking throw. From NBC News. I'm deeply ashamed. Larry Summers to step back from public commitments after new Epstein emails. Larry Summers, who was Treasury Secretary under President Bill Clinton, said Monday that he will be stepping back from his public commitments following the recent publication of his correspondence with convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. I am deeply ashamed of my actions and recognize the pain they have caused. I take full responsibility for my misguided decisions to continue communicating with Mr. Epstein, Summers said in a statement. The House Oversight Committee last week released more than 20,000 emails from the Epstein estate, which included extensive correspondence between the disgraced financier and Summers. The most recent one was from the day before Epstein was arrested in 2019. They have this in The Guardian. We're not going to go through it, but I'll just read the headline. The New York Times cuts ties with Larry Summers over Epstein emails. One of the emails he has with Epstein is him trying to get like literal sexual, there's no other way to word it. I'll just get straight to it. Sexual advice. Like he was trying to get like advice on how to get laid. Like, just to paraphrase it, but that's so insane that you're going to Jeffrey fucking, like, don't take that advice. Like, what are you thinking, bro? But I guess when you're this guy's age, you're an old dude or whatever, you're really just thinking it's just a number. Like, dude, like, this is terrible. Like, the worst guys you know are fucking texting him emails from their iPhone. Like, it's so weird. It's so bizarre. And while I'm kind of on the subject of just, like, the tranche of shit, so far, I think the most interesting thing that I've gleaned and heard, because you can go through all this shit. I'm going to level with y'all. I'm not going to do my due diligence on all this shit. There's so much of it, but I'm pretty sure a lot of it you can find via like a Google Doc that they have you to search this shit up if you're willing, if you're brave. But just listening to some of the emails between Steve Bannon, guy with a fucking slime ball, friend of Donald Trump as well, like him and Epstein, just their correspondence, they're back and forth. Like they're talking like they're Pinky in the Brain trying to like take over the world. And you would think that this is like just weird, like rich guy musings, but like these guys were doing the most that they could to make it happen. They were meeting with other motherfuckers to try to string up these meetings and making more and more connections, just literally inking and blotting and doing all this weird shit. And there's also so much of the dialogue that they are saying, so you get to like get an insight into like the way they think, the way they talk. But then there's also so many times that they go, yeah, we shouldn't talk about this on text. Call me. Like, so then they take this weird conversation and they just take it and say God knows what to each other on like a landline or a private line, whatever the fuck. So, I mean, it's just icky, gross ass fucking shit. So, like, for the two of those guys, they were kind of like Pinky in the Brain. I guess for Summers, this was like a guy that they were talking shop, I imagine. And then when they weren't talking shop, I guess you're going to Epstein like he's some kind of love guru because he's good with the girls. Like, dude, literally the girls, not women. But once again, I think in their heads, they're just like, yeah, it's all the same. Like, it's just so fucking gross. It's just so weird to think that you would have like this long-standing email chain, and there's so many people who are implicated. We've talked about him a lot, I think, through like the birthday book or whatever. But even like a Noam Chomsky has like boom, 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 like rendezvous, at least talking points with fucking Epstein, and they just kind of go, and it's like, oh my god, like why, dude, like. You're like, oh, maybe he did this or that, but like, I stand to gain from hanging out with him. Oh, I like the cut of his jib. I like his vibe. Like, ew, dude. Like, what do you mean? Like, there's just no way to square this shit. But that being said, a guy like Larry Summers, he's all the way up, and I think he's a board member in OpenAI. So I don't know if he's going to be necessarily giving that up. And we could spend a lot of time just talking about AI, but I'm sure there's going to be some kind of article, some kind of news moment that'll give me an opportunity to vent and rant about that. Let's see. I'm going to read a quote, though, from Larry Summers. Let's get back to the article. While continuing to fulfill my teaching obligations, that's right, this is a teacher, everyone, I will be stepping back from public commitments as one part of my broader effort to rebuild trust and repair relationships with the people closest to me, Summers added in his statement. The emails released last week revealed a close relationship between Epstein and Summers. In a March 2019 exchange, they corresponded about a woman Summers was interested in. Epstein was in jail awaiting trial on federal charges when he died by suicide in 2019. They said it that way, which is fair, whatever. Summers has not been accused of taking part in crimes associated with Epstein, so that's worth mentioning. But I've said this before, I'll say it again. I think these stories right here are maybe the most we're gonna get out of any and all of these revelations that are to come out from like the Epstein files or any new connections or things coming out from, Jeffrey Epstein, Ghislaine Maxwell, any potential associates, is that these people get outed. You now get to know some of the stuff they were saying, you get some insight into that, and you get to judge them accordingly. And hopefully, post that, they go, okay, I'm gonna maybe step down, step away, maybe, kind of Boys in the Hood style, disappear a little bit from the scene. And that's something. Do I think we're going to get any jail time, any criminal time? No, probably not, unfortunately. But you never know. But yeah, I know we had, the Peter Mandelson situation across the pond from UK. He had to step down as UK ambassador. That was something. That was relevant. Not necessarily from the files, but, the Virginia Joffrey memoir. You had, former Prince Andrew, and Andrew, you do have to say his whole name, by the way. I'm pretty sure it's Andrew Mountbatten Windsor. Like, that's so stupid. I'm getting a pimp named Slickbacked right now by some fucking... dude. I'm gonna be nice. Trying to be less ableist. trying to be better vibes. All right, I'm gonna take a water break, and we're gonna get in. We had a visit from MBS. MBS came to town, came to the good old US of A. We got to get into that. So let me take a water break, though. And I would love to say shout out to Bloomberg, but we all know they paywall my fucking ass. So shout out to Yahoo. Ooh, they're giving me the real press for a not subscription. But I will say, I'm annoyed with Yahoo because I use Yahoo Mail a lot. Not like Jeffrey Epstein, no, but like, to send myself emails to, I guess get a lot of spam offers that I'm not going to accept, stuff like that. But now they're trying to make me pay a subscription. I'm not paying you money for space. I'll just make a new account, you son of a bitch. Like, there's no way you're going to get me like this. But they're trying. And now I have to, delete just stupid emails that I wasn't even going to open anyway. Probably a virus in one of these motherfuckers. And, they're making me do all this tidying. It's annoying. But that being said, shout out to Yahoo for being a news source. Anyway, not sponsored, by the way. Of course not. Anyway, Bloomberg. Trump eyeing deals, says MBS knew nothing about Khashoggi. Also, I'm not apologizing for how I say Khashoggi on this one. I've heard this shit said so many goddamn ways. There's a Khashoggi spectrum. There's a Khashoggi meta. I'm choosing Khashoggi, okay? I'm planting my feet. U.S. President Donald Trump said Saudi Arabia's Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman knew nothing about the murder of Washington Post columnist Jamal Khashoggi, as the pair met to announce a deepening of economic ties at the White House. A lot of people didn't like that gentleman that you're talking about, Trump said, when asked about Khashoggi alongside the Saudi prince in the Oval Office. Whether you like him or you didn't like him, things happen, but he knew nothing about it, and we can leave it at that. Dude. I hate, and I have to say this, I hate whenever I find myself in a situation where, like, I'm kind of in the ballpark. There's kind of a bit of an overlap of agreement or whatever between, like, my take and a Trump take. And I'm like, oh no, I think I'm the bad guy. Who knows? But, like, no, I'm not absolving MBS of the situation. I need to state that for the record up top. But that being said, we are talking about trying to make an example of this one situation. You're saying, yeah, he's so bad for this. I can't believe we're allowing this to happen. When we do a lot of shit as a nation state that is just as bad as Saudi Arabia did in this situation and just as fucked up. We also have allies with, other, nation states that are like doing the same kind of fucking shit. So I'm not saying like, oh, that makes us okay. But I at least like that, like, Trump is that much of a bastard. He's that transactional that it's like, dude, I'm not going to fucking sweat this shit. Whereas, like, we had Joe Biden, who, let's just be real, does the same thing. He has to go to Saudi Arabia. He has to, like, do a little fist bump with MBS, or, like, it's not a handshake, but it's like, you're going to do what? You're going to do business. You're going to talk shop. You have to do this. But instead, you're going to, like, oh, I'm going to hang on my morals because they did kill that journalist. It's like, dude, yes, this fucked up shit happened for reasons. We'll say that. But at the end of the day, business has got to happen. These things are going to happen. And, like, not to mention, there's other fucked up shit that you can definitely mention that Saudi Arabia is doing and getting away with it. And it's like, the sports washing, the this washing, Yeah. Look, I'm not Team Saudi Arabia on this shit. But I do like that Trump is just like, no, I want something out of this, so I'm going to get it. I don't care. He's coming here. I want to hang out with my dude. Like, he goes to, do his Saudi Arabia trip. He was down to hang out with MBS and get doted on, so he's going to return the favor. And for MBS, this is good because he gets to come and do business. I believe one of the main topics was him getting an F-35 or getting F-35s for his country. That is a provision granted by Lockheed Martin that I think in terms of the Middle East, only Israel gets. Surprise, surprise. So this was something that, definitely MBS is looking to get. And looks like he's going to be getting a line at that with his visit. Let me see here. What else do I want to read? The two leaders said they expected talks around the Crown Prince's visit to Washington to focus on expanding Saudi Arabia's investment in the U.S. to as much as $1 trillion from a purported $600 billion previously. Trump said the U.S. was likely to approve a defense agreement with Riyadh without giving further detail, and a civil nuclear deal. He reiterated that Washington would sell F-35 fighters to Saudi Arabia, adding that Israel, which had proposed the move, would be happy. Also, a thing that I do like about MBS, I like about Saudi Arabia's overall stance. I've got here. The U.S. leader said he and MBS had discussed the possibility of Saudi Arabia establishing formal diplomatic ties with Israel as part of the Abraham Accords, though the Crown Prince indicated he was interested in work towards establishing a Palestinian state. So I like that Saudi Arabia, that MBS is saying, look, this is still our stance. Like, we are potentially down to normalize relationships with Israel. Okay, but part of that provision is they have to make sure that things are good with Palestine, that they are recognized, that is sorted, attended to. The only scruple I feel like I really have with this is a line that he has said before. This is a line that Saudi Arabia has kind of put out, But then behind the scenes, they're kind of down to entertain more money talks over anything. And that kind of carries a lot of weight. And then, slowly but surely, it's like, oh, well, maybe this is kind of okay. Maybe that's okay. Well, if we can get that, then maybe this is fine. Da 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 da. And you kind of see that Palestine is not really in the conversation. And I don't want to see that happen again. So, I mean, I'm hoping that, this is something that, he's going to adhere to. But we'll see. You know what I mean? I mean, you never know what MBS is going to do. He's a real wild card. What can I say? There's also a big talk about, like, how concrete this is because, in Trump term 1, things were really great, really rosy between the two of them. Then you had Biden in between. Things got really icy. Things were really like, oh, okay, what about all these deals? What are all these promises? Like, things drastically changed. Then you have Trump again, and it looks like, oh, we're so back. So are these deals going to be concrete? Are these things going to be, cemented? Who can say, but I think for Saudi Arabia, they're willing to make the gamble and they might as well play when the getting's good. I think it makes sense. Also worth noting that part of the visit, I think there was some dinner. There was a dinner in which we have Tesla Chief Executive Officer Elon Musk and then golfer Tiger Woods. I just love that combination. I guess you have Elon Musk for the business and you have Tiger Woods for the pleasure. That's so fun. That's so cool. I guess. I don't know. At this point, I would not want to hang out with either of those people. Now, give me 10, 15 years ago, I would want to hang out with Tiger Woods. Tiger Woods was dope back in the day. Pre-scandals and shit, pre-the back shit. Oh, yeah, he was goated. That was the guy. But yeah, no, I don't know. Not so much now. I'm back to not giving a fuck about golf, actually. When Tiger Woods was peak, I was like, golf is fine. Tiger Woods is dope. Hell yeah. And then after he fell off for the reasons, whatever, I was kind of like, whatever. And I mean, I think he had a bit of a comeback. That's neither here nor there. We're supposed to be talking about MBS. I'm talking about Tiger Woods. So it goes. But yeah, let's go ahead and move along. We got some more news actually to cover. We are going to go to the Associated Press. Actually, we are going to Nigeria. One of 25 abducted students in Nigeria escapes as the search continues for the missing girls. A schoolgirl who was abducted with 24 others from a dormitory in northwestern Nigeria has escaped and is safe, the school's principal told the Associated Press on Tuesday, as hunters joined security forces in the search for the missing students in a forest close to the school. The girls were kidnapped before dawn on Monday when gunmen attacked the dorm at the Government Girls Comprehensive Secondary School in Kebbi State, MAGA Town. Also, I know this is a terrible joke, but obviously no relations to MAGA at all. This is its own thing. Local police said the gunmen scaled the fence to enter the school premises and exchanged gunfire with police officers before seizing the girls and killing a staff member. No group has claimed responsibility for taking the girls, but analysts and locals say gangs of bandits often target schools, travelers, and remote villagers in kidnappings for ransoms. Authorities say the bandits are mostly former herders. Glitched out there. Former herders who have taken up arms against farming communities after clashes between them over strained resources. Mass school kidnappings are especially common in northern Nigeria, and the Kebbi school is close to conflict hotspots, including Zamfara and Sokoto states, where several gangs are known to operate and hide out. The student who escaped arrived home late Monday, hours after the kidnapping. According to the school principal, Musa Rabi Magai, I'm sure I'm fucking that up, mea culpa. Another student was able to escape the gunman in minutes after the raid and was not abducted, the principal told the Associated Press. They are safe and sound. A video verified by the Associated Press shows the two schoolgirls, who appear to be in their early teens, lost in thought and surrounded by family and other villagers with hijabs covering their heads. High schoolers in Nigeria are usually aged between 12 and 17. So yeah, a really intense situation. And I know this isn't the first time we've covered a story like this. Oftentimes it can be very harrowing to just literally be yanked out of school, abducted, and now you are forced to more or less be subservient. I don't have a better way to word it, a slave to, your abductors, your captors. Unspeakable things are going to be happening to you, and for a whole lot of money that people do not have, that is the ransom number. And if they meet it, maybe there's a chance. If there's some kind of negotiation between the state and these groups, these gangs, then maybe you get released, maybe you have an escape, like two of the schoolgirls here. But if not, you're stuck in the situation indefinitely. So yeah, I mean, I've definitely heard a lot of really harrowing stories, just listening to the BBC. I feel like we've covered this story at least once or twice. I know for sure at least once. Just in terms of the wind is escaping me. But each and every time, it's always very harrowing. It's very scary. It's very sad. In some situations, you do get a negotiation, and then like a whole group, are able to get home. But that often, can take weeks or months to actually get resolved, and that's in the best of situations sometimes. So yeah, just wanted to at least highlight that story, talk about it a little bit. I know there's more details here, but yeah, just wanted to at least touch on that for now, and then we'll come back if I do get any more updates. But yeah, we have one more story. Speaking of updates, this is one I didn't expect. It's a bit of a low key ending, but we'll go ahead and touch down with this bit of an update on our mushroom pilot, our little psychonaut, if you will. But yeah, let me go ahead and take my last break, and we'll go ahead and close it out. Ooh. Ooh. Okay. From ABC 7 News. Off-duty pilot who tried to cut flight engines midair is released without prison time. A former Alaska Airlines pilot who tried to cut the engines of a passenger flight in 2023 while riding off-duty in the cockpit will serve no additional prison time, a federal judge ruled Monday. U.S. District Court Judge Amy Baggio sentenced Emerson to time served and supervised release for 3 years, a hearing in Portland, Oregon. Dude, I'm hating these articles. I know I've said this before, and this is probably gonna sound like a cope, but maybe you can go ahead and reread it because usually they don't fix them. But the sentencing, like the structure, is just so different, and I think it's just sometimes you have like an AI kind of proofread a thing, or maybe even write a little bit of a thing. Hey, I know, I'm not putting it on them. Maybe I'm completely wrong. Maybe this is a bit overblown. But like, you just sometimes, I was like, where's the structure here? This is just not how the sentence should be worded. But whatever. Federal prosecutors had asked for 1 year in prison, while his attorney had sought probation. So there's a bit of yada 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 here. We've covered this story before. This man, Emerson, he was mourning his friend's death. He went on this whole retreat about it. He did some drugs 2 days prior, psychedelic mushrooms. And he said he was like still reeling from the experience. He didn't know. He thought he was dreaming, and he just wanted it to stop. And so he tries to like pull the cord, because he's a pilot, so he was allowed to like fly in the cockpit. And he tries to pull the engine cord, and they're able to stop him. Excuse me. But not before him making this crazy fucking attempt. And, he blamed it on that more or less. And he's just like, oh, I'm so overwhelmed. And like, I did just take those drugs 48 hours ago, which, like I said, I was just like, oh, okay, I guess. But yeah, I mean, I think when I initially heard that he was just going to get time served, I was a bit annoyed. I could go into the rah about how I feel like there's a bit of systematic ick at play here for me. But we're talking like 50 days in jail. It's whatever. Like, he is, still, what is it? Plus 5 years of probation, 664 hours of community service, 8 hours for each person he endangered, and over $60,000 in restitution, nearly all of it to Alaska Air Group. So, I mean, hey, he's still on that. I'm cool with that. It's a better use of his time than him rotting in prison. I wish there was more of those opportunities offered in situations instead of saying, "Hey, let you rot in prison." Actually, you're a human being and you have a chance at a better future. That's the whole point. And I guess we'll bleed you out fiscally. But no, I think community service and things like that are just more effective if you're going to do anything, I guess. But whatever. It is what it fucking is. That's all I have for today. That's the docket. I know, a bit of a rickety ride, but that's how it goes. And it looks like I ran a little longer than I expected. But hey, sometimes I just get to yapping and I don't stop. And we had a lot of Epstein ground to cover. I underestimated the files. I underestimated the weight. I'm just going to be real. Goddamn. Dude, is it really... I'm going to say this as a close out. Is it Epstein forever? Are we ever going to escape the shadow of this fucking freak, dude? This fucking monster, dude? Ugh, it's so gross. I'll find out on the next episode of Isaiah's Newsstand. No. Okay. If you'd like to help out, support the effort, I do have a Patreon. Patreon.com/Isaiah News. Become a newsie today. Free ways to hit me up, IsaiahNews1@gmail.com. Feel free to follow me or the podcast on any of the socials. Subscribe to the YouTube. Follow on TikTok. Follow on Spotify. Follow on Apple Podcasts, wherever you like to listen. Likes are appreciated. Leaving cool comments, that's appreciated. Sharing is caring. 5 stars on Spotify, 5 stars on Apple Podcasts. But even if you don't do any of that, I truly, from the bottom of my heart, appreciate you just listening, just tuning in. I had a friend tell me that they fall asleep listening to the podcast. And I'm like, dude, that you honor me, you flatter me. That is a podcaster's dream. That is really what it's about. At the end of the day, I know what I am. I know who I am. I'm just a dirty, rotten trash masher, okay? That is my job. That is my lot in life. But I do love yapping. I do love talking about news. I do love talking about myself. I'm a vain piece of shit. What can I say? And if that provides any kind of comfort, any kind of joy, any kind of use, enlightenment, whatever, I'll fucking take it, my dudes. So thank you so much for just letting me be a part of your life, a part of your experience. It really means the world to me. That's more than the money. That's more than the fucking algo boost. That is why I fucking do it. So even if it's just a handful of y'all, I got embarrassed today. I know we're going in bonus time here, but you get it for just hanging out. I got embarrassed a little bit. I still get embarrassed sometimes when I talk about this thing of Oz, because I'm yeah, I've been doing it for a few years. I have 5 to 10 people who listen, but truly I'm proud of those units. Truly I am. I'm really stoked that more than one person likes to tune in and just hear me yap, on a daily basis. So that really is why I do it. So thank you so much. Thanks so much for tuning in. Thanks so much for being a friend. And hopefully I see you soon for some more good news. I love ya. Bye-bye. Mwah.